Hello and welcome to St Peter's, St Albans, one of 3 gateway pilgrim churches repeatedly instigated by Abbot Alcinous in about 948. The others are St Michael's and St Stephen's. A walking trail leaflet is available which encompasses all 3 churches and the abbey. St Peter's was substantially rebuilt in 1803 and 1893, with very little of the earlier church remaining. Only the 15th century pillars and low walls on the south side. We start our tour standing by the screen looking west. Uniformity of appearance is due to the restoration in 1893 to 1895 by Lord Grimthorpe, who added an extra bay westwards, the rose window above, as well as pushing the north wall further out, raising the roofline to give clerestory windows at high level. The original roofline rested on the painted corbels and is represented by the line above me here on the south wall of the tower. The wood panelling was added in the 1950s. The 6 windows on the west wall are by Belgian artist Capronier. They were installed in 1867 and 1872 and show New Testament scenes. The rose window, when installed in 1895, was clear glass, but in 1922 the coloured glass was installed because the setting sun shined too brightly on the clergy during evening song. The north wall windows have fragments of medieval glass. The pulpit was installed in 1863. The magnificent Mander organ was installed in 2006. Beyond the organ is the Mead window given by Mrs. Mead in memory of her husband and 2 sons who were killed in the First World War. Adjacent is the memorial to Edward Strong, Master Mason to Sir Christopher Wren at St Paul's Cathedral. This was erected in 1723. Additionally, many who fell in the battles of St Albans in 1455 and 1461 are buried in the churchyard. Whilst in June 1645, Royalist prisoners were held in the church before being marched to London. Likewise, in August 1648, Royalist prisoners en route to Bristol to be deported to the colonies were also held in the church. Having moved in the chancel, we are under the tower ringing room floor. In 1757, work was carried out to raise the belfry 22 feet to improve the view along the length of the church. This weakened the pillars so that eventually on Saturday the 21st of November 1801 the tower fell down. 2 Acts of Parliament in 1803 and 1806 enabled rebuilding of the tower and other renovations at a cost of about £6,000. We next moved to the ringing room above. Having ascended the 50-step spiral staircase, we are now in the ringing room. Note its size and spaciousness. The ropes to the bells are held by the spider, and this is securely pulled out of reach. Note there are 10 ropes, 1 for each bell. The heaviest bell weighs approximately 24 hundredweight, that is 1,220 kilograms, and is tuned to E flat, whilst the lightest bell weighs just over 500 weight and is tuned to G. Unfortunately, our ringers are away today at a striking contest, so we are unable to give you a demonstration of bells being rung. But this is available on our website. The walls are hung with large numbers of peal boards, about 40 in all. Each one records a ringing performance of at least 5,000 changes, lasting a minimum of 3 hours. A change is where a bell's being rung, for instance, in order 1, 2, 3, 4, becomes 1, 3, 2, 4, or 1, 2, 4, 3, and similar until you get to 5,000 changes using 10 bells. Most of these were rung to mark a special occasion, such as the inauguration of a new vicar, a royal wedding, or a funeral. Very few towers have as many boards as we have here at St Peter's. Peal boards of note in particular are: the oldest St Peter's peal board on the south wall records a peal of Grandshire triples, a method of ringing, rung in 1767. This is notable because 18th century peal boards are quite rare. The peal rung for the royal wedding of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip in 1947 is recorded on the board on the right of the entrance door. The victory peal on August 16, 1945 is detailed in the stained glass window. This is most unusual as there are only a handful of towers which contain such windows, but the fact that the second panel has been added for a 50th anniversary peal almost certainly makes this unique. 2 peals rung in 1993, the last one rung on the old bells before the bells were taken away to be recast at Whitechapel Foundry, and the first peal rung on the new bells are both recorded here. The shallow cupboard, which has 10 ropes disappearing into its Elecum chiming apparatus, and each of these ropes is attached to a hammer underneath one of the bells. It allows tunes to be played on the bells when they are safely down, although nowadays it is very seldom used. The pendulum of the church clock extends down almost to the floor. It is one of the longest pendulums in the country, some 22 feet, and is claimed to be the heaviest. Its period is of 5 seconds, that is 2.5 seconds each way. The clock mechanism is in the floor above. We have now climbed the next set of stairs to the dumb floor. This room is a void between the bell ringing room and the belfry and helps to reduce the intensity of the sound heard by the ringers. In a small separate room we also have the clock mechanism. Its one face looks out southwards towards St Peter's Street. The clock was made by John Bryant of Hertford and installed in 1806. The weights were mechanically wound by the verger once a week, but this is now done automatically by an electric motor. A very similar clock mechanism is in the Elizabeth Tower at the Houses of Parliament. The electronics cabinet to the side is the base station for Radio Verulam. A few more steps higher and we have now reached the belfry. In 1993, after a long appeal, the old mixed quality ring of bells and the aging wooden frame that went around the edge of the room were replaced by a modern tuned ring in a steel frame. with additional foundation girders that we passed on the way up. This work cost approximately £140,000 and has provided St Peter's with a fine ring of bells, which is both pleasant to listen to and, the bell ringers tell me, easy to ring. A wide walkway around the bells of the frame here is most unusual, as in many belfries the frame for the bells takes up all the available space. Each of the bells has an inscription around its waist. These record the major donors of the bell, its restoration, with more important information listed in a framed plaque hanging in the ringing room. The casting history is also inscribed on each bell. They are made of phosphor bronze. As the bells are hanging down, you can see the clapper hanging below, the shape of the bell, the rope that pulls the wheel to turn the bell, the headstock and the slider. The four wall louvers seen from outside here have all been boarded up inside, except for a smaller hinged box near the top of each. These allow the volume of sound which is heard outside to be controlled. From the intensity for the ringing service, when they are open, the boarding up of most of the area hardly diminishes what is heard outside, to a much more reduced level when closed for practicing. We like to be considerate neighbours. How do the bells get up here? In each of the floors there is a trap door in the middle which provides access for the bells and the frame. An electric hose can be attached to the beam just below the roof for lifting the bells, and frame components down and up from the chancel floor. The steep wooden ladder we have just climbed takes us to the roof, which affords splendid 360-degree views for most of St Albans and its surroundings. The roof here is the highest point in St Albans and has consequently been chosen by Radio Veron as the site for one of its aerials. On Ascension Day, the choir climbs up the roof and sings early in the morning. One item of note is the number of trees that can be seen in St Albans. If we look down St Peter's Street, we can see the Town Hall and the Abbey. Whilst we're up here, we stay on the walkway on three sides. The north side is very narrow. We start by looking in an easterly direction. We can see the University of Hertfordshire buildings at Hatfield, the government aerials at Brookman's Park. The big black building on the horizon is Star Point at Potter's Bar, with the M25 winding its way between junctions 22 and 23. The next tall building is Shenley Water Tower, which has now been converted into flats. Moving a bit further round, we can see Wembley Arch, some 14 miles distant, in the gap between Elstree Hill and Brockley Hill. The M1 is hidden in the dip here. Next we see Harrow on the Hill and the Into shopping centre at Watford, and the two tall blocks of flats at Otterspool Way adjacent to the M1 Junction 5. Then the large warehouses at Hemel. Two of the largest there, one belongs to one belongs to Marks and Spencer's Food, and the other one is next. The Bedman TV mast, whilst Bedford Communication tower is on the horizon. Finally, Luton Airport's domed passenger hall and the control tower. Looking in a southeasterly direction towards London on a clear day, we can see the top quarter of Canary Wharf some 25 miles away. The top third of the Shard normally glints in the afternoon sun. Well, that concludes our tour. St Peter's website contains much more information on the bells and the tower and the history of the church, where you can also make an electronic monetary donation if you would like to support the upkeep of this historic and important building. Thank you for watching.